Good evening. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. We want to note that this meeting is being broadcast on NUSD's YouTube channel at the direction of the board. The broadcast may capture images and sounds from those attending the meeting. If you would like to make public comment on any items on the agenda or not on the agenda, please see staff at the side table for public comment cards. We will now ask our student Katie to come lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Trustee Novato will now announce on action from closed session.
Good evening. The board met in closed session on the following items: public employee discipline dismissal release, information only. Conference with labor negotiators Dr. Tracy Smith, superintendent and employees organization, management/unrepresented, gave direction. Public services or facility security consultation, information only. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm now going to ask for approval of tonight's agenda. Trustee Pickus with a first, thank you. And who would like to second? Trustee Lametta, thank you. And all in favor? 6 plus our student. And consent agenda. Are there any items from consent that anyone would like to pull? Trustee Gasson.
15N. And we can put it to the end if we have time. If we don't, that's okay. I just had some questions.
Okay, we'll put it to the end of the agenda. Thank you. Anything else? Would anyone like to move to approve the consent agenda aside from item N?
Consent agenda excluding item N, correct? N, Nancy?
Thank you, Trustee Millerick. Would anyone like to second that? Trustee Gasson, thank you. All in favor? 6 plus 1, thank you. Okay, announcements from around the table, starting with our student trustee.
Good evening. Oh, these mics are so much better. Yay. So St. Marin has a couple activities going on, mainly related to the seniors. We've got STEM Senior Night. Seniors can showcase their work. And then prom, which is a really big deal. They're all very excited. There's been a lot of planning, so we're sure it's going to be fun. And then also Senior Night and a wellness fair, which will have lots of activities taking place during lunch. And then finally, leadership is hosting a spring picnic. That's just going to be a fun event to bring like the San Marin community together and others. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you.
I got a chance to tour Novato. I didn't ride a bike. I just walked over and met some of the participants in the program. But it was a great event. There was a lot of wonderful people present.
This was also my first tour of Novato. It was so fun. I have to say, I have a lot of people who are new to the area, and like, what's Tour Novato? And I'm like, I kind of think it's like this. And I went, and I'm bringing everyone along with me next year. So this is just a shout out to the community, to everyone at School Fuel who put it on. If you haven't done it, join. It was so fun. It was great to see the community. A lot of hard work went into that. So just get there next year. I also had a chance to go to the Olive Shark Frenzy Carnival this weekend.
Oh my God.
Exactly. It was so fun. And so I just appreciate the invite. And I know that a lot of schools are doing all the carnivals and all the end of the year celebrations. So appreciation to the staff and the community members who are parents and everyone who's putting them on.
I as well was able to help out at Tour of Novato. And yes, it's a really fun event, brings the community together. They're still accepting donations, so go onto the Tour Novato website and make a donation, and most of the donations go right back to the schools. I was able to get out to the Hill Education Center where they had senior presentations, the Magnolia Project, which is something we approved here. The students do an internship for a couple weeks around Marin, but mostly in Novato. done really well. Daphne, I think I was in her class. She's not here. She's one of our student board members. Was able to listen to her presentation. Got to North Marin Council PTA meeting, did a site visit at Loma Verde, went to Linwood for the ukulele concert, which was the 4th and 5th graders. Lynette Boozley, she is the music teacher. She does an amazing job every single year and has been doing it for a very long time. And it's just the spirit, and it's just super fun to see these kids all playing the ukulele. We had our housing committee last week where we got an update on the survey. We got the survey results from our staff. So that's sort of a leap into the next thing that we need to be doing. It helps us understand where our staff is and the potential for housing, to be able to build some housing here. Golden Bell Committee, I also attended that meeting, which is the Golden Bell Awards, which is a county award initiative. And the Golden Bell ceremony is actually this Thursday. So that's it. Thank you.
It's hard to follow you guys because I'm like, check already. But first, I just wanted to express my thanks to all staff this Appreciation Week. And I know it takes each and every one of you to help make this district run smoothly, so thank you. Some of the same events, really enjoyed the senior presentation night at Marin Oaks. It was very nice. The housing meeting is great. Looking forward to moving that forward. And we had some additional guests, which were great to see at the meeting. We also had last week, or on the 8th, the Joint Legislative Advisory Committee meeting, and we talked with Assembly Member Conley, which was nice. And then as a follow-up on the tour of Novato, just want to add, it was great to do the walking aspect. I really enjoyed walking through downtown. I've raised about $700 for bike helmets for kids at NUSD, and the site is open until the 28th if you'd like to participate through donations to any of the great participants in the event. That's it.
No report.
I also tagged along on many of the things that have previously been mentioned. I will not speak about. I was at the school fuel board meeting. They've raised around $70,000 from the tour of Novato, and as was mentioned, you can still go on their website and contribute to different funds. And as Trustee Gasson said, the way that it works now is that a teacher or a school or a person you can directly donate towards their thing. So that's pretty cool. They gave a shout out to the Robotics Club. They were a really great group to have as one of the many school-related booths that were there. And School Fuel has some openings on their board coming in the next year. So if that's something that anyone in the community is interested, you can go look on their website and get more information. Thank you.
All right. Happy Classified Employee Week. Really want to shout out to our classified staff. Truly amazing, and they keep our schools running. We have quite a few here in the room right now keeping us running, so I get to say specifically thank you. I was delighted to be part of a couple of events with our community-based partners, North Marin Community Services and Community Action Marin. Congratulations to both organizations in their fundraising efforts to support their good work. It's very apparent when you attend these events how much they do for our families. Reclassification ceremony is tomorrow at the Center for Performing Arts at Novato High at 6 o'clock. So we're very, very excited about that event. So reclassification is for students who have shown academic progress and matched with proficiency in English, so our second language learners. And so we're very excited about that. And we're sorry some of us won't be able to attend the 6 o'clock awards that happen at Marin Oaks tomorrow at the same time, but good luck over there. We have also Golden Bell ceremony, which honors staff from around the county. We have lots of Novato there, yes. And the Rotary Teacher Awards will be on Friday at lunchtime. Congratulations to our new city manager, Amy Cunningham. She will be official after tonight. after acting as an interim role in the interim role since December. We are finding her to be a true friend of the district and a great partner. And congratulations to our spring high school sports teams. We have many NCS participants and just lots of growth for all of our teams. It's very exciting. I think there are already some of them who are still going to be with us next year. Are super excited for next season. And I have a little special announcement for tonight. Thank you for coming. We are especially excited to honor our team with the highest accomplishment to date. We know that the baseball team is still in the running, and they're playing right now, I think. But the San Marin girls lacrosse finished their season as the NCS champions. So words from Mr. Peterson, athletic director. The team is made up of mostly multi-sport athletes. It's a special group that played with confidence all season long and proved why they were the best in their division. The girls played together as a team beautifully and love each other, and it is very evident. We are so proud of this team and what they have accomplished. First girls lacrosse NCS championship in the school history, and we look forward to the future of this program. So, congratulations. Can you come on up? Can we take a quick picture, Les? Thank you for coming. The coaches, we have some players. Thanks for coming out so I could say a few words. I got out to a couple of the games.
A lot of girls are at the STEM program tonight.
Oh, geez, the conflict. Sorry. Oh, gosh.
Okay. Oh,
I think it was 10 years ago that we started lacrosse as a sport in the Novato schools. And it was a whole bunch of people like you coming forward and saying, this is a great program and we should have it as a high school level support. And here we are, not at the beginning, but at the top of the pyramid. And this is really exciting to see that you guys got the benefit of decisions that were made, and now you get to take this forward as your achievement, and that's pretty amazing. Thank you for playing so hard and being the champions you are.
It just, again, being it the first time in school history that this team won a championship like this in NCS at the highest they can go, it's pretty impressive, and everybody's really hyped about that. So.
Yeah, we're blessed by them.
okay. We're now going to open the public hearing for developer fees. Oh, that was loud. If anyone would like to make public comment at this time regarding developer fees, please complete a comment card and come make a statement. Okay, seeing that we have none, we will now close the public hearing. Okay, we now have a presentation from the Novato Charter School. Their annual report.
Good evening. I am Nikki Lloyd. I am the administrative officer of the Novato Charter School, and we're going to start this evening with Mr. Justin Tamola. He is our on-site director, and he is going to be joined by two 8th grade students. So why don't you guys all come up here, and Mr. Tamola will introduce the students and their presentation for this evening.
Okay, good evening, board. I'm Justin Tamola, school director at Novato Charter School. We're really lucky to have a couple students tonight, Ireland Kelly and Nicholas Lundeen, who are gonna present an amazing accomplishment that all 8th grade students do, called their 8th grade project. And it's a project-based learning project that they're gonna share with you. And I'm really excited for them to do that. And is this the best place for them to do it, or should they be center? Right here? Okay.
And if you want to go that way, and if you guys come over here so everyone can hear you, and then I will do your presentations. Sound good? Yep. Okay. All right, Ireland.
Okay.
The fright of the sound of buzzing from the busy bees swarming around me, the feeling of bees hurling their little bodies against my suit, but the sweet, calming smell of honey surrounding me, along with the comfort from my bee suit, makes me feel happy and at ease. Why am I so afraid of these small, innocent insects? Are they more afraid of me than I am afraid of them? All these thoughts swarming through my head like a bee swarming through its hive. Good evening. My name is Ireland Kelly, and for my 8th grade project, I chose beekeeping. At the start of this project, I was very nervous because ever since I was little, I've been scared of wasps, bees, hornets, you name it. Although my fear for these insects are still there, I definitely feel more at peace with them. I started right away with getting my beekeeping suit and finding my mentor. My first bee excursion was on June 10th, 2023, and I started learning the basics and checking everything out over at a family friend's house. The sound and feeling of having hundreds of bees swarming and running into me really freaked me out, especially when my mentor at the time told me they could smell fear. Throughout my project, I was thoroughly excited to get my bee suit and work with the bees. But there were a few distractions. Mainly, I stayed on top of my project, and in the end, I exceeded my expectations by a tremendous amount. I learned a lot of things about the importance of bees and how they function. My mentor and I worked on checking the hives, building hives, finding problems in the hive, and my favorite, harvesting honey from the hive. I did this several times over my project at many different locations, and it was really interesting tasting the different flavors from honey's different area of flowers. For my SLE, I helped out by making the Novato Horseman's Haunted House, handing out the newsletter flyers to my neighborhood, and worked on making beehive boxes with my mentor. I really enjoyed helping out, and even though I couldn't be in the haunted house itself, it was really fun putting it together. My total time I spent on SLE was 7 hours. During the expanse of my project, I harvested 5 32-ounce jars of honey. I sold 26-ounce jars and made $200, which I donated towards the Save the Bees organization. On October 12, 2023, I made the decision to take on 5 bee boxes of my own. We steadily drove them to our house, and we've been taking care of them. They've been thriving happily in our front yard. Once a month, I do a hive check and look for eggs, honey, and the queen to make sure they're happy and healthy by checking the color, smell, and if there are any intruders, such as unknown larvae and mites. All the way from the start of this project to the end, I didn't get stung by one bee. Maybe it was the bee suit or my own fright scaring the bees away, but I sure am thankful. I'd like to appreciate my mom, dad, and brother for supporting me and helping me through this project, especially my parents for pushing me to go out and do my SLE. I have more. I would also like to appreciate my friends for listening to me talk about my experiences in the medicinal properties of honey. I'd like to give a big thanks to my mentor, Jonathan, and all the work he has done to educate and plan amazing experiences on top of being a doctor, and the fantastic Mr. Betts for pushing me and supporting me, as well as always being there and being the best teacher. Thank you and good night.
My pen slides smoothly across the surface of my iPad, leaving streaks of brilliant color. As I continue to draw frame after frame, movement begins to form. A moving image of a figure walks cleanly across my screen, the fruit of my hours of work. I feel content and satisfied with what I've done. Good evening. My name is Nicholas Lundeen, and my 8th grade project is animation. In the first week of summer, I planned to meet with my mentor. Unfortunately, it happened about a month later due to miscommunication. But still, I was off to a great start. We discussed the process and all the steps to making an animation, and he gave me my first assignments. They were to get inspiration for my animation, get a rough idea of time for my animation, and make a storyboard. The storyboard and my inspiration are up in this slide. My idea was that the animation would be around 3 minutes and be a stick figure fight set inside of a computer screen. I would soon figure out that this would be much harder than I anticipated. But first, I procrastinated. I got ahead of myself and thought about how I had all year to do this animation and didn't have the motivation to do anything. So I didn't, not for a while. I spent my time enjoying summer and forgetting about my project. Then, about 3 months into school, I realized I needed to get working. Upon beginning work on my animation, I realized something that I had not anticipated. 3 minutes of hand-drawn animation at 15 frames per second was a lot more than I had thought. And I also began to realize that it would take much longer than I anticipated. As I began to start the animating process, I ran into problems like props, backgrounds, and special effects. I realized I would need a change of plan if I wanted to finish my animation on time. So, soon after my realization, I talked with my mentor, and we both decided on a much more simplified video with fewer background changes and extra complications that was estimated to be around 45 seconds. After this, I created a new storyboard and began work on the new animation. After months of work, I was unfortunately only able to complete about 35 seconds of film due to additional procrastination and issues involving trying to understand a very confusing animation software. I wanted to add more, but I had to stop there because I still had to add special effects and sound. As I went through the animation, I felt like the main obstacles that I faced were trying to get the correct poses that would create movement and made my animation flow smoothly, and getting sound effects in the right places. But after numerous calls with my mentor, I was finally able to get a video I was proud of. Unfortunately, I can't show it tonight, but yeah. Through this project, I learned that animation is a lot harder than I thought and more time consuming than I originally had, never mind, I said. But even though it was a challenge to make this animation, I am glad that I did, and I'm happy with the result. It was really experience that I won't forget. For my community service, I've been working every Saturday from 1 to 5 at the American Cancer Society Discovery Shop, and as of today, have a total of 76 volunteer hours. I really enjoy my time there, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with all the other volunteers at the shop. I've enjoyed my time working at the Discovery Shop and plan to continue volunteering there even after this project. I would like to thank everyone who helped and supported me through my whole project. Firstly, I would like to thank my family for supporting me and giving me the resources I need to complete the project. I would also like to thank Mr. Betts for helping me, my teacher, Mr. Betts, for helping me, along with all the other students and guiding us through our projects. Most of all, I would like to thank my mentor for teaching me the ropes of animation and voluntarily taking time out of his busy life to help me produce the animation I have today. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope you have a good night.
So I'm not sure if you caught all of that, but this is a year-long project, and it's very much project-based. The SEL they're referring to is community service, so social emotional learnings, where they give back to the community in addition to learning a new skill. And did anybody want to ask them any questions? Because we love putting actually I want to point out too that Ireland has been at our school since kindergarten, while Nicholas is fairly new to our school. So it's fun to have two students at both ends of the spectrum there with us. So questions?
Great presentations. My first question has to do with you both mentioned mentors. So do you have like a group of different things that are offered and then the students choose, or do the students find somebody with something of interest and then go and pick?
For when we were deciding our projects at the end of 7th grade, we would have 3 project ideas, and some of us had mentors at the beginning, like for the project ideas, and some of them didn't, but I fortunately got one pretty early. But yeah, we all have to have a mentor for our for the projects that we do, and sometimes like a few students got them like halfway through the projects. So it's kind of hard to find some for like more like harder projects, but like
So,
there's some.
So was your interest in the digital arts, and then you found somebody? Is that so? It stemmed from the students interest. So well, I actually am a beekeeper. Well, I was a beekeeper. But they're very hard to keep these days. So I'm impressed if you still got them over the winter. But so you liked beekeeping and then you found your mentor? Yeah. Okay, wonderful. That's very cool. And
We'll help them if sometimes their families, they're able to find them, or the school help them identify mentors.
thank you. Both great.
In the beekeeping model, it's a community service project, so the community service was to donate the profits from the honey. Did you do pollination services for any ranchers or farmers, or did you rent out your hives?
No, I didn't. I helped out some other like family friends and friends of my mentors to like harvest their honey.
Huh?
But for my SLE, it was helping making bee boxes for my mentor, and I also did like working on a haunted house and stuff.
Oh, cool. So you think you're going to stay in agriculture?
Yeah, definitely.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I'm not sure that it's fair that they go before I go, but for planning. But we'll go on with our annual presentation. So thank you. It's actually fun to come it's fun to prepare for this meeting each year because it gives us an opportunity to go back and look over the year and sort of look what we brought to you last year, look what we've done over the year, and think about where we're headed. So I always like to mention that we are part of the Alliance for Public Waldorf Education, that national society or organization that supports public schools that are using Waldorf in the public sector, be them charter schools or district schools. We continue to work out of our mission statement, and our core values are very important. We review them at the start of every school year and then throughout the year. We actually have incorporated our core values into our hiring. And there's each one of our hiring questions correlates with a core value. This was the first time since COVID that the entire faculty and staff was able to go to the in-person Alliance conference. And of course, that's wonderful because there are experts from all over the country who provide professional development. But as important, it really allows our staff to become cohesive and collaborate and have that time to build connections. So we were really excited that actually was able to happen this year. Community and cultural events is a big part of our campus, the cycle of the year. And so again, we're second year now, right? I believe that we're holding all of those in person again. So our school demographics continue to more closely mirror the demographics of the other schools in the community. And our CASP results continue to be strong. We continue to focus on that as one measure. I always like to point out that our curriculum and program does not align with the Common Core state standards per grade. So for example, there will be standards in kindergarten that we will not cover until first grade or second grade, and third grade that might not come until fourth or fifth grade, but we do commit to covering all of the standards through eighth grade by the end of eighth grade. Multi-tiered system of support. We continue to strengthen this and have this in place so that we are ready to support all learners as we welcome them and as we encourage more diversity and do outreach. We want to be prepared to support all of the students that come to our school. So we are in our third year of our FastBridge interim assessments, and we have been working with the Sunday Essentials as well as the Sunday System, which is a researched program that targets early reading, both for the Sunday Essentials is for whole class learning that really supports phonics and coding and decoding skills early on. And then the Sunday system is specifically for small group intervention and instruction. Measure G bond funds. So we have worked so closely with Mr. Josh Braff, and I very much appreciate him. We've had lots of meetings throughout the year, as well as John Delena. I don't believe he's here tonight, but we've had many meetings, and we're very excited that the campus this summer will be abuzz with work and those dollars going into improving the campus, and specifically around the topic of safety. So we're really appreciative of all the work and the collaboration and support, and look forward to those improvements. Business services transition. So we opened in 1996, right? And Novato Unified School District has supported our back office activities for such a long time, and we've been so appreciative. And it's just become time where we sort of grew up and took that part on our own. So that's been a lot of work, and worked again closely with Josh and his team. And I saw Logan somewhere. Is Logan still here? Logan's really helped us, and Dana. So we're continue to work through that and appreciate the support that we've received. And just a great big thank you. I also want to thank Dr. Tracy Smith. Oh, did I just turn it on? So I'll talk really loud. I want to thank Dr. Tracy Smith for coming in and really facilitating great conversation and communication, in addition to Josh and to Julie Center. So I felt really supported and held by the team this year, and I'm just pleased and excited about moving forward.
Comments or questions from the board? Trustee Lamena.
Your core values, you change them every year depending on the school year or whenever.
No. So my understanding of core values is there's something that's sort of inherent, whether you're looking at your family's core values or your own personal core values. So I think it was about 10 years ago where we wanted to bring more cohesiveness to the faculty and staff, and we wanted to be clear, and we wanted to, I think the biggest one was that interpersonal relationships, right? And that gets in our way all the time. And so we really took a number of meetings. We have a whole faculty and staff meeting once a week, and we took that meeting time to say, who are we and what are the most important pieces? So we came up with, for example, our first one was respect. And then we said, great, but what does that mean? Well, one of the things that meant to our faculty and staff was direct communication, airing things, going back to Dr. Tracy. If I'm like, hey, can we circle back to that comment in the meeting within 24 or 48 hours? So I think what's renewed every year is sort of the operating principles that go with each core value. But the 5 core values really remain true to who we are: that respect, collaboration, accountability, creativity, and the art of teaching. And now I'm going to forget the 5th one. Did I say 2 all at once? It's 5, okay. So yeah, those stay the same, but really how we play them out and the operating principles can change and need to be constantly reviewed.
Thank you.
Sure.
Me? Yeah. Enrollment, is that still maintaining, I'm assuming, and you probably have a wait list still, and?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so our enrollment continues to be, we're actually a couple students down in middle school, which has been sort of the time when families make moves and changes over the years, but we've been pretty consistently enrolled, and we do still have wait lists. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for continuing to provide the demographics every year that you
Yeah.
do, and it's going in the right direction. So I know that was a big deal with this board, and making sure it works towards what Novato Unified is made up of. So appreciate that, and thank you for coming every year just to give us a highlight of what's gone on the last year. Your great partnership as always with us, and I know we had the discussion of facilities, sort of got a little hairy, a little off kilter a little bit, but now we're back on, and we're going to hopefully help the school out in getting your facilities to a better condition. And you have a great partnership with Josh, which is great to hear.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
That's perfect. Thank you.
I'm glad to see that the safety issues are being taken care of this summer. This is, I mean, it's one thing to say we're going to solve the problem. It's another thing to say we're going to solve them now. And I appreciate Josh and you guys working together to get to that end, and the superintendent's leadership in making sure that happened. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Great day. Thank you to the students as well.
Sure.
Oh, no.
Students included.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just back up a little bit so I don't get this in it.
So Nikki, 97, is that how long we've known each other?
Yeah.
Yeah. 97, yeah.
Okay, you guys ready?
We have a public comment, so that'll help.
There we go. Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're now on to non-agenda public comment. We have Renton Rolfe with a 3-minute comment for us. And a reminder, during public comment of non-agendized items, we cannot respond, but thank you for coming.
I understand. Thank you for your time. I was here last week and I raised the issue of the Pledge of Allegiance and the practical usage of it in the district, and I asked for a response, and Dr. Smith was kind enough to send me a response in writing, and we indicating that the pledge is in use, but there are some inconsistencies and that she's going to continue to look into it, and I really appreciated that. I came here and Ellen told me the same thing about trying to survey the district and see what the actual practice is in each one of the schools and the classrooms. I grew up in San Francisco. I went to a school that was a victim of an earthquake, but it Grant School and up on Pacific Avenue, and we said the pledge there every day in every classroom, and I think it led on to my joining. It wasn't the only thing, but it led on to my loving the country and joining the Navy and serving for 25 years, 3 years active and 22 in the reserves, so it wasn't always full time. But so anyway, that's why I'm raising the issue. I hope we can get information. I'm going to keep knocking on the door and trying to get the information as to what's going on. I assume nothing. I know that I assume nothing about what's going on, but I just want to find out. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so we are going to deviate a little bit from our agenda this evening. We have a few participants in tonight's meeting that had other commitments, and so they are not quite here yet. We are going to do, Mr. Braff will be up first. We're going to do discussion action 14A to start with right now.
So we're just
The
going to go out of
topic
order a
is-
little bit.
We're going to go a little bit out of order. We have approval of AB 1200, public disclosure of collective bargaining agreement, Novato Federation of Teachers.
Yes. Hello, Board. Today we're bringing to you the AB 1200. This is for our collective bargaining agreement with NFT. At our last board meeting, you approved the tentative agreement, which approves, of course, all the language. This is the financial portion of this that has to go through a review with the Marin County Office of Education. They sent back a thumbs up, said it's good to go. We send it to them 10 days prior to the board meeting. And so they've completed their review and are in agreement that our numbers that are produced here in the AB 1200 line up. And along with that also are the salary schedules that are for both this year and next year in alignment with what was in the language of the agreement. And so with approval tonight, we will be updating those salary schedules, which will allow us to do the retro payments for our NFT members for the agreement for this year.
Great. Questions, comments, or move for approval?
I move to approve.
Great. Trustee Pickus with a first. Do we have a second? Trustee Millerick, thank you. All in favor?
Okay, wait, can I just hold on?
Oh, yes.
I'm just looking at the recommendation. And this is just me with approving stuff. It just says the AB 1200 versus approving the salary schedule specifically. I'm not seeing that in so maybe we state, am I wrong in being too picky on that, or? What do you say? I'm saying the approval should be, the recommendation is to approval of the public disclosure of proposed collective bargaining agreement for NFT per government code, blah, 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 but no mention of salary schedule. So I just want to make sure that
Can we do a friendly amendment of
that's
and
that's all I'm
associated
saying.
salary
Just
schedules?
so the minutes reflect that we're
Yes.
approving the salary schedules.
Okay, so we're gonna add and associated salary schedules to. Yes, okay, both who moved to approve this agree, and we would now like to take a vote on the recommendation of approving the superintendent and staff's recommended approval of the public disclosure of proposed collective bargaining agreement for NFT pursuant of Government Code Section 3547.5 and associated salary schedule. All in favor? 6 plus 1. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification as well. Okay, we're now going to be joined by Mr. Mike Saisi. He will be presenting the Decreased Chronic Absenteeism Network Update. Yes, this is item 13B. Thank you for that clarification.
All right, good evening, trustees and Dr. Smith. I'm here to report out on the amazing work that has been done this year by our elementary and middle schools to decrease chronic absenteeism. This work has been done through each school's DCAN team. You're going to hear the acronym DCAN a lot throughout this presentation, so I just want to make sure you know that DCAN is Decreasing Chronic Absenteeism Network. Before I begin with all this great information, I wanted to acknowledge Kirsten Grimm from the San Diego County Office of Education, who we partnered with this year. She could not be here tonight, but she was instrumental in schools achieving their attendance goals for this year. Chronic absenteeism is when a student misses 10% of the school year for any reason, whether they're excused absences or unexcused absences. So in 180 days, that means a student who misses 18 school days is chronically absent. This graph shows you that we have been doing better than the national average. So if you go to the pre-pandemic part of the graph, the national average was 14% and NUSD was at 6.5%. And just like everyone else, the pandemic affected us. After the pandemic, the national average for chronic absenteeism was 26% and NUSD was at 18.5%. Now, there's a lot of information on this particular slide, but I wanted to focus on where it says third grade. Students who attend school regularly are more likely to be able to read proficiently by the end of third grade. Research shows that if students are not reading by the end of third grade, there is more of a likelihood of students dropping out of school later in their educational career. Our goals this year was to decrease NUSD's K through 8 average rate of chronic absenteeism from 18.5%, which was 755 students last year, to 9%, which is 402 students. And our second goal was to increase NUSD's K through 8 average daily attendance from 93.83% to 95%. In the DCAN strategy that Kirsten brought to us, there were 3 big drivers that research shows that are instrumental to help increase students' attendance. They are culture and climate, communication, and attendance structure and routines. In the area of culture and climate, DCAN teams coordinated school events when students met their attendance goals. Such events were principals getting pied in the face or slimed, and some schools even had their big stuffed mascots that were given to classrooms with the most improved attendance or best overall attendance. This went a long way in improving the morale of not only the students, but the staff as well. The communication piece, schools put out weekly bulletins with updates on their attendance data. They had messages on their marquees, they had social media posts, and nudge letters that went home to families regarding student attendance. And then attendance structure and routines. Schools looked at all the different ways that they could break down any barriers that might be in place for students as far as them getting to school. And they also looked at their own internal systems to see if they needed to amend any of them. All right, this is the great news. So we beat our goal of, we are now at 7.7% chronically absent at the K-8 level, which is a 10.8% decrease from last year and only 1% higher than where we were at pre-pandemic levels. 74 students who were chronically absent last year were not this year, which is a huge accomplishment, which means that more kids were at school and learning. The dashboard information, it is predicted that NUSD will go from the orange to the green on the California dashboard, and no student group will be in the red or orange category, which is a huge accomplishment. This is the data by school. So you can see the huge improvements that have been made this year at each school, going from the chronic absentee rate that we were in 22-23 to where we are currently at the 23-24. All of this growth is amazing, but to go from the red to the blue is a huge accomplishment. So I'm going to shout out, I could shout out every school, but I'm going to shout out in particular Loma Verde, who went from 16.9% to 5.8%, which is an 11% improvement. So they are predicted to go from the red to the blue, which is basically going from one end of the dashboard to the other. Pleasant Valley also, they went from 14.9 to 4.4, which is a 10.5%, also predicted to go from the red to the blue. And Rancho as well, 14.1 to 3.8, so over a 10% increase. And then what is predicted to be a humongous accomplishment is it is predicted that San Ramon is going to be under 1% for the year, which is an amazing accomplishment. This is a graph broken down by student groups. So you can see that each individual group improved anywhere from 5% up to 18% as a growth. So again, on the right-hand side of the graph, you can see that some groups are going to go from like yellow to blue or red to green. Again, huge accomplishments. This was interesting correlation, I think, to the Youth Truth data. So if you go back to the 3 drivers that I mentioned earlier around communication and culture, those were the areas that went up in our Youth Truth data. So at the top it says families at elementary and middle, communication and culture went up, and staff, elementary and middle, culture went up in both of those areas, and then students, culture and belonging at the elementary level and culture at the middle level, they all went up. We think that some of this is related to the improved attendance that has happened over the school year. And then underneath that are quotes from students. It's kind of hard to read, so it's a little bit small, but one of the best ones up there is from a student. It says, "This school changed my life. This is the place I learned English. It might be the best school I ever went to. This school almost feels like home. I also like the school because of the events and Friday Flag. They are very cool." It doesn't get much better than that. This particular slide shows you a lot of information. I understand the numbers are a little small, but you can see the first 2 boxes is the current ADA, so average daily attendance, at 95.39%. And then the next box over is showing you that we are at 1.56% better than we were last year. And then if you look along the way there, it's going to show you month by month. So for example, August of 23-24, we were at 97.64%, and that's an increase of 2.02% from last year. And then you can read right across on how much it went up. We made a lot of gains in August, November, and December. Those were our big months. All of this, again, improvement means that more kids are at school and learning. And then these are our amazing DCAN teams. In their meetings, you can see there was a lot of fun activities going on, a lot of people dressing up. We could not have done it without those DCAN teams. The DCAN teams, if you're not aware, they met every single week for an hour, and it was religiously. It was every week for an hour. Kirsten, the person that we worked with this year, would join the meetings either by Zoom when she could, or she was here in person and met with those DCAN teams and guided them along the way. With that being said, I would love to bring up our DCAN team. So there is a representative, I believe, from every DCAN team from every school. And Dr. Sinyard, if you could help me. All right, so if Hamilton can come up, I believe Brian Clement is here. And Loma Verde, Allie McMorrow. Future Hamilton. And then Lou Sutton, Mira Patel. And Linwood, Jasmine Babandir. Oh, they maybe did. There should be one in there. Okay. All right. Olive, is it Jody Castro? Come on up. And Pleasant Valley, is Alyssa here? Yes. Alyssa Mathers. Rancho, Marisol Nita and Nancy O'Neill. And San Ramon, Kim Gallagher. San Jose, Juliet Jones. And Sinaloa, Vanessa Coleman. It should have been in there. You can check and see. So each one of these representatives, they are representing a team of people. So there was, I would say, roughly 4 to 5 people on each DCAN team. And like I mentioned earlier, they were consistently meeting every week for an hour. And there were, I'm sure, weeks that they were like, we don't really have the time to meet. We got other things we need to do. But they did. They met every week. And you can see the fruits of their labor and how well they did with their attendance. All right.
Questions from the board? Yes, Trustee Millerick, and then Trustee Butler.
So I want to talk to the staff that's sitting down now. I had an opportunity to talk with our superintendent about what's education going to be? Is it going to be more online, or how's that going to work? And I said, the trouble is we don't have enough data. And she turns around and says, Ross, you're wrong. COVID gave us all the data we need. We know what happens when students don't engage with their educators and school. We know exactly what happens. We have the evidence right in front of us. But the evidence is not kids failed. The evidence is kids failed compared to what happens when you're successful. And you guys are the front lines of turning that around and making sure that the students are on the campus first, that they're learning, that they're engaged, that somebody cares about them, that relationship building is the value proposition, that all of a sudden these are not DNF kids, these are success kids. And it's your work right at the front line. We can sit around here and do budgets and talk about stuff, but when somebody goes out and says, let's sit down and talk about it and do this piece of homework together and I'll see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock, right? That's you guys. And I'm so glad to be in the same room with you because you guys are the front line, the defense that is making this a great school district. And the kids are going to be great successes in their lives because of what you're doing right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
This worked. We approve a lot of stuff, at the board table, and we hope it's successful, or hopefully that doesn't come and go. So this really worked. So thank you to each of the teams at each school site for meeting weekly, as you said, which is a huge commitment. I totally understand that. How do we keep this momentum going? So that's the key.
That is the question.
Yeah.
We are currently in the process of, we sent out a survey to the DCAN teams on what worked, what improvements can we make for next year, and that's our job, is to figure out for next year how are we going to do this to keep the momentum going.
We saved $1 million, close to a little over $1 million. That's huge, because I know in just pre-COVID we were losing $1 million plus just pre-COVID all the years. So think of that, $2 million most likely we were losing. And now we've gotten that back where we can put it back in the classroom for the students. So let's keep it up.
What was the biggest challenge? Meeting a weekly, promoting all these events, planning these events at school, like the pie, I guess what was the biggest eye-opening experience going through this process?
I don't want to actually answer that because I think the biggest challenge was meeting every week and just committing to that. But I would really like to ask them because they were in the thick of it. We were able to join some of those DCAN team meetings. So we saw it in action, but we weren't there every single week. But I have to imagine there were a lot of challenges, not only meeting every week, but trying to come up with what are those events that we're going to do? What are the incentives that we're going to provide? How are we going to communicate to families, showing support, like we want to get your kid to school. But they are the experts. They're the ones that are in the middle of it.
I have a projecting voice. Unless you want me to, I can. But
it's for the people that can't hear you.
Sorry. Raise your hand. I know, my fault. I work at Sinaloa, so middle school presents a lot of challenges. Not all of the costumes and get-ups and fun ideas work for secondary students, for middle schoolers particularly. So that was a challenge, to find things that they were engaged in. One of the best parts was finding something and seeing the little kid come out in them. Little things, donuts, cookies, a pie. Being able to pie Mr. Madden was we wouldn't have thought. But the hardest thing is shifting community values and reminding parents that attendance matters. To call home or to respond to a nudge letter that said, this is how many more days your child is missing than the average NUSD student, wasn't always well received. So having to have that conversation of, yes, they still need to come to school. We obviously in this room value education, and we were met with different challenges in terms of how other families and other communities show that value.
First, definitely we just here representing a team. Personally, I just want to say Melissa Steele, wonderful Data Tosa, Emmy McCall, and Catherine Pace are really the doers. I think one of the biggest challenges, in addition to the allocating the time, was we come up with these wonderful ideas and then the execution.
of, for instance, a middle school attend dance. Who's going to actually do that in addition to all the other wonderful things and spinning plates that we have. And obviously this was an opportunity for a deeper dialogue and discussion about belonging and how the little things can make it. So in service to what Mike was saying is, what are our takeaways? What were the parts that we can move forward that will advance our collective goals, as well as be realistic from a workflow and sustainability standpoint to really kind of keep the traction on the good work we've done this year. We also are aware there's a burden then to hold it and do that efficiently with the joy and enthusiasm that we did have at moments. But it's really that and piece of it for wonderfully hardworking staff that we had, just those extra bits of the doing outside of the planning. So I want to name that piece. But we were successful, so thank you.
And I did not mention, but I believe Brian did dress up in a hot dog outfit for his kids that came to school. I think there are some pictures out there. Yep.
Oh, just one last question. I know that we had approved for like the decant proposal about $93,000. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Smith. But y'all got a grant for $50,000. So I think that this was a really great investment on our part. So thank you so much for that.
Again, thank you all so much. And I also want to acknowledge for people who maybe aren't hearing about this, that districts across the country right now are continuing to slip in their attendance and are not having the success that we have seen here. And so I think those numbers look like really amazing, but they're really amazing considering what we're seeing across the country, across California. So this is not only great for Novato, but I think this is sort of a model, and it's really incredible what you all have done. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you all so much. Thank you again also for coming tonight. Yeah. Okay, we're now going to go to item 13A. This is a staff report on Proposition 28, the Arts and Music in Schools Funding Guarantee and Accountability Act, and this is an update of that.
So I'm going to introduce the item, and Michelle is truly the presenter. I was sharing with Julie earlier that my introduction is I'm brilliant, and I'm brilliant because I selected Michelle to lead the charge. As soon as we started to realize how complicated Prop 28 was or could be, we had money. How are we going to spend it? Let's spend it. Let's get good stuff for kids, right? And then 10 months later, oh, this is how you're supposed to spend it and what you can spend it on and how. And so we have taken a couple steps backwards to create a vision or begin to create a vision, and Michelle's going to talk about that. So welcome, Michelle Cortez.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I am rushing from Novato High School's Senior Awards Night, where our student trustee just received a glorious award. But this is, the first thing I want to say is Prop 28 is my dream come true. Because I really, truly believe that the idea of every student K through 12 having high quality arts experiences in each and every school is just, that's why I'm an educator, and that's why I do the work that I do. And coming right off of DCAN, where we were talking about experiences that make kids want to come to school and make kids feel that sense of belonging, in particular in secondary, when kids want it to feel more authentic to what's going on in the classroom, I think Proposition 28 allows us to get really creative about that. So I know that you all know a little bit about Proposition 28, but I do want to make sure that we're on the same page. And this is the exact process I did with principals and their site teams to be sure that we were all on the same page about really a California ballot measure that was passed at 64%, which we know is an overwhelming pass rate in the state of California. And it annually allocates 1% of the California budget to the arts without raising taxes. So we're talking in the neighborhood of $1 billion a year at the state level to schools. And for our district, we're in the neighborhood of $1 million every year towards the arts. Yay, this is so exciting. Some of the really unique and beautiful things about Proposition 28 is that it was a very intentional ballot measure. And it's pretty strict on the way we spend money. And so what we know is that its unique and intentional design gives money to schools so that there's hyper-local control. What does a school need to do to address creativity for all their students? School sites get a budget and 70% of that is based on enrollment, 30% is based on Title I. And it's also really smart in terms of making sure that they give an annual amount of money every year to the district and therefore to the sites, but giving them a 3-year window to spend that money. So it's kind of complicated in a way, especially when the measure says 80% of the money that you receive should be spent on staffing, right? That's exciting in many ways when you think about high quality art experiences for students, because often we are reluctant and a little bit gun shy on hiring forever people when we only get one-time monies. And Proposition 28 is not that. Proposition is annual amounts as long as you spend it in the right way. So this year we did some of the learning and understanding what the ballot measure, what was in it, how it was composed, and we also did an audit. So we realized that we have a lot of things to celebrate when it comes to the arts in our district. Many things to be proud of that you've heard throughout the last year. And one glowing example is Olive's use of their STEAM program through their universal access, where they've made some very deliberate decisions about the way their school day is structured to be sure that all the students in their school site have access to arts experiences. So that is an absolute glow. And we see other glowing experiences in partnerships that Rancho did with Marin Shakespeare. Obviously, I can't also not talk about some of the things we do at Novato High and Marin School of the Arts, where we specifically use Proposition 28 money to pilot a way of addressing newcomers who come in the middle of the year and make sure that they had an arts-infused advisory so that in their first language they were able to visit different classrooms and have art experiences while they were still getting lots of academic support and even like Chromebook support and schedule support and life support. So again, those are glows, but when we did our audit, we also noticed that there's areas that we could definitely grow in. And those came up in 4 particular areas, particularly around inconsistent resources, implementation, and quality in the elementary schools. So most of our elementary schools use Arts Attack, and that initial model was PTSA parents were volunteering to implement that curriculum. And so with the parents kind of graduating with their kids and moving on, a lot of like the brain trust moves along with them. So very different implementation from one school to the next. Some schools really knowing how to use it and adapt it. Olive is one school that adapted Arts Attack in really smart ways. And then others where the parents that were coming in didn't have the experience or maybe even the interest, and sometimes there weren't even school systems set up to get them going, right? So that's what we discovered in our audit. We also said in the middle school level in particular that there are systemic access issues, especially for English language learners and for SPED students, because they take a support class instead of an elective. They did not have access to arts in the same way. And then when you look at the changing demographics of our school district and you look at what we were offering, that there's an opportunity for us to really grow in culturally relevant content and practices around creativity and the arts. And then we also thought about, wow, we could do so many good things if we collaborated more and shared. And so I also loved listening to DCAN and talking about how they met regularly, because that's a sweet sauce that is untapped. And I know it's difficult, but I also think that there are so many people in Nevada Unified School District at different sites that want to do good work and want to be sure that what's true for a student at one elementary would be true for a student at another. And there's just such a strong will to collaborate, but we just need some time to do that. So I want to be sure that you know that we took kind of a slow iterative process this year, And again, it was kind of like, whoa, cool, money at the beginning. And then some people jumped right in and spent some money, and other people were like, I don't even know what to do with this, right? So what we did is we created, Tracy helped us establish an NUSD Art Steering Committee that had representatives from elementary, middle school, and high school. Also had people who sometimes wear the hat of EL, like myself, sometimes other people who wore the hat of special education. And then we also really worked really closely with our district and district office folks who kind of steer the ship when it comes to logistics. So we met a few times in order to have a shared understanding, and then we also designed the work for what we called site launches, which is what we did on April 19th. And we asked principals to gather a team from their school site, like a small 3 people, to create a little site steering committee. And then we created some shared understanding and shared knowledge and launched just a 1-year plan. So on April 19th, we said, okay, you have to create a plan for just next year. We did not want to tackle a longer, more robust plan because we wanted to be sure that those site steering committees went back to their sites and got more opinions. Let me see, there it is, there's the pretty one. So we know that change that incorporates multiple perspectives is the best kind of change, so that we're not trying to navigate the bumps here, but rather talk through and be a really good community together at the school site. So we talked about different ways that the principals and the site steering committees could go back to create a larger arts steering committee at their site. And then we anticipate coming together at 2 or 3 times next year to create a longer, more robust plan. Make sense? We also said we can't wait 2 to 3 years to start this work. And so I'm really impressed with the way that we leveraged staff members who have strong institutional knowledge, veterans, who said, hey, we've started this work years ago, right? Right when I came in 2019, we started creating an NUSD vision for arts education, and we're like, hey, let's pull that out of the archives, right? So we're pulling these things out and saying, we said all these things years ago. And so we've pulled that out and looked at each of our iterative teams, looked at that piece, and we'd like to finish that next year and bring it to your attention. So hopefully there could be some board recognition and adoption of these types of policies. And then we also we started doing some of that culturally relevant work where we were growing as a community together. And so at Novato High School, we hosted a national level Latina arts educator, and she came in and did a workshop on arts and identity. And we had people from both of the middle schools, both of the high schools. There's about 12 of us, and we learned together. So that was a really exciting way to get started on the culturally relevant practices. And we loved it. We did a survey, everyone was like, more of that. And then we also did some work on being super specific on how we address that 80% staffing piece. And so in our site planning, when we got ready for launch, we said, here's the way that you can hire people responsibly. and this is what it would look like. And here's the difference between one way of doing it and another way of doing it. So that was part of our site plan, and we're still kind of going back and forth with the school sites. Some people are sharing FTE for next year, and some people are doing just little pieces of it with existing staff members. So we just wanted to make sure that it was chunked in a way that was manageable, and that Franny didn't raise her eyebrows too much every time PAF came in, because we love you, Franny. So again, we have clear steps on what we're going to do next year, and I think that principals and sites have a clear understanding of what their job is to do, because honestly, if you're going to go with a model like Olive's, that actually changes their schedule. And if you know how teachers feel about changing schedules, folks have really good reasons why we should be slow and cautious in making decisions like that. And so, any elementary school site that's thinking, or middle school site that's thinking about something substantial like that, should really take their time and talk to their stakeholders. And we trust that each site leader will know that they have a slightly different formula for what that's going to look like. So we're really clear about what happens next. I will remind you that we report as a district annually. So we have some work to do this summer, and we also have the ability to request waivers annually from the LEA. And I anticipate that we would probably request a waiver for year one, but we need to finish seeing what everyone spent in year one. That money will roll over into their second year. So that's a little bit of summer assignments for us. So I would love to, and I was really explicit, ask for questions, comments, conversation, or kudos, any of the above. Because again, I'm really impressed with the amount of work that we were able to accomplish in a year. But I also think that we should go slow, and we should make sure that lots of people are at the table so that we understand the implications. When we put more money in one way, are we forgetting about some other folks who really want to make sure that they're at the table?
Trustee Gasson?
Super excited about this, and even more so that you're doing this for us. And I had said to Dr. Smith, I'm like, I read the slides, but I don't quite get it. And she's like, oh, you'll get it. And I do. I get it now. But I think when I was getting it, it made me think, and I missed a point that you made, so I apologize if I'm asking something already.
Oh, of course.
Because I was like, oh, I'm struggling with the 80%. And it's referenced somewhere that it's staffing. So does it literally because I started thinking, like, when you were talking, I got so excited because there's so many, like, if you go to a Shakespeare thing or you go do this, and I'm like, well, that takes some money away. It's a great opportunity, but it's not like a staff person. So it doesn't include, like, hiring a consultant to come in to do, or does it?
So if you're working with partners, that would be part of the 20%.
It is still? Okay.
Yeah. But it's actually really exciting because, and it requires us to build it and have a little bit more time to hire these types of positions. But there's a lot of possibilities that we should explore for sharing maybe an arts integration TOSA on a larger level who could help be the person who organizes some of these events. I think it's really exciting that it's not someone outside. It basically requires you to think about having your staff work within the system to build the expertise that realizes the vision, right? So it's good that it is staffing.
Well, no, I like staffing, but when I was looking at the pie and thinking 80%, and I don't know, there was somewhere along the way I was getting so excited. You were talking about like or especially for different kinds of art. You know, somebody may not know about African American art thing, or having somebody come in and, you know, and that kind of thing. It's a person. It's just not a staff person. So that was where I kind of was thinking, oh, it'd be great just to have those opportunities that maybe the kids could experience. Anyway, I don't want to get too far off track. The other thing I was going to ask, I was actually at an event that for North Marin Council PTA, and there was some conversation about this because they started getting nervous about, like, oh, are we getting the money? Or are we not getting the money, you know, for their school sites? And so I told them that this presentation was coming and that things were rolling out. So I think as much as the leadership can, keeping PTA in the loop, because they would want to support as much as possible. There's also the Reflections program, which I don't know if you're familiar with, but through 16th District, which actually oversees not just North Marin Council, which is all of our districts, but they've been trying to get interest into the whole program because it's an opportunity to go to California's PTA and then go up to national and be recognized for art in different forms. And so there was some conversation around that too, and excitement. So there's some other little pieces I think that PTAs are trying to be a little interested in and excited for and wanting to support the work.
The essential question that I try to remind folks is, does this provide more? This is an expansion money, right? Does this provide more access to more students to creativity and the arts within their school day? And it actually does allow for before and after school, but the learning pieces that are for adults, that's the 20% part, because the 80% staffing piece means that students should directly benefit from high quality arts instruction. The student should feel it, right? The student should have teachers who have their arts credential that are highly qualified.
Oh, I just meant more, maybe I misspoke or didn't make it, that there's opportunities for kids to enter their work into these types of things and make it more exciting. Like my daughter, I know she likes entering different poetry things. And so just like these avenues that could enhance and give an opportunity for the kids to feel like, okay, we're going to, submit for this entry point, and potentially get, recognition. And I guess there's dollar amounts at the end and stuff. But anyway, super excited. Thank you for all the work that you've done. I look forward to hearing about next year.
Trustee Millerick and then Trustee Lametta.
Question, how is the money allocated campus by campus? Does an elementary, does it kindergarten, does it by student, and does it
student enrollment is 70%.
And a kindergartner gets the same dollar amount as a high school senior?
These are some of the technical questions that I did not say to myself that I needed to get really expert on because we have really great people on our site who can do that. But from what I understand, sorry, I'm trying to find the right piece without jizzing you all.
Ross, I believe it's like a
70% enrollment. It is by your enrollment per site.
Yeah.
And then the other 30% is by Title I.
If a student counts as a student, if they're a kindergartner or a high school senior, I mean, we have MSA and some of the facilities we have to learn performing arts and other artistic skills, if it's computer graphics or stage performance, are pretty expensive at the high school, but creativity should start at the lower levels, and my concern is that we make sure that the money also flows into the elementary schools, because I know we do it at the high schools by the values of the Novato Unified School District. So I guess I'll wait for a question and the answer, over the week. Maybe superintendent can identify that rule, but I'm assuming it's flat.
By the number of students enrolled.
Yeah, right, by same dollar for each kid.
Each site gets on a formula, gets an allocation, and there are some sites, because of their higher percentage of students of need, who end up getting a higher dollar amount, even if their enrollments are exactly the same. And it is the same amount, just based on what I could see with the allocations, that it was based on those two items and nothing else.
Okay, cool. I think that answers my question.
But I will say that because we are privileged to have this glorious arts program that you all have committed to keeping robust for years, and we realize that that's such a privilege. I know at Novato High School and Marin School of the Arts, we feel a debt to pay, and that we really want to be sure that our highly creative students are of benefit to our middle schools and our elementary schools. And so a lot of the things that we're looking at for integration is also being sure that we can serve as role models to our younger brothers and sisters at our neighborhood schools.
We've spent money on getting a stage at San Ramon, and other elementary, middle schools. Facilities have been upgraded, and not as much as we'd like, but you don't all of a sudden start getting creative when you're in the 9th grade. Those juices are available earlier.
Well, the K through 12 Music Festival is a great example of us all coming together and thinking differently. So when I was talking about the potential for collaboration, Tracy very beautifully, with so much presence, approved a PLC for our K through 12 music teachers. And so every time teachers were meeting under PBE, the music teachers all met separately. And Matt Verplates supported and really collaboratively worked with all the other teachers to backwards map what a festival like that, what it would take. And it actually takes a lot, right? A lot of planning.
Oh, yeah, no, none of that's easy. Congratulations on putting that together. But that's exactly my concern is we do holistic solutions. The kids don't just change at some point in time. It shouldn't be by school, it should be by student. Thank you for the program.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Of course. Thank you for acknowledging the systematic issues for our ELD and SPED students, because I do hear that very often. And I really appreciate the fact that you brought up this workshop for to have it train other people to have equity, like an equity lens. I know you invited me and I couldn't go, but I really appreciate that, and I would love to see that more, just because it's like a constant thing that we have to learn and grow in order to make sure that we are serving the populations that we have mentioned earlier. But thank you so much for your leadership. I've attended a few MSA events and I always see you, and like, you're so passionate about this, and I feel like you are the perfect person to lead this and give this presentation.
Well, I really believe in leadership as a system, as the whole boat. So I try to make decisions that are about kindergartners and seniors at the same time. And that I really think that we are so lucky to be a unified district, and that as leaders, it's our responsibility to think about, the roads in and the roads past us. So I really hope that Proposition 28 is a great opportunity for us to authentically collaborate and build systems that and really meet our equity imperatives and our vision as a district.
Trustee Pickus?
Yeah, this is so exciting, and I really appreciate how thoughtful and like the slow pace of the beginning. I think that's so important, and your recognition that every site has different needs, and that what they want to do at their site might be really unique. And I also love that you said our goal is to have more access to more creativity. And I love that it's about opening up access and getting more students to engage. It comes back to that equity piece. I just think that's a really beautiful way for us to look. And I didn't know that we had a vision for arts in Novato, and I think that is so cool. Is that a unique thing? Do other schools have this? Do other districts have this? I think that's so beautiful that is something that we have that is, kind of a guiding principle for us at this moment. But I love that.
And to be honest, it was draft, and we started the work, and then we stopped it because we kind of pivoted and started turning towards another initiative. Mm-hmm. The arts teachers were like, that was so fun, let's keep doing that. And we did pivot, and we needed to do some work around proficiency-based education. But I don't think that there are different initiatives. I think that there's so much integration between all of them. And I would love in a year's time to give you really easy things to approve, because so many people have their hands in shaping who we are as a district and what we value. And I think we value innovation and creativity in all of our schools, and as a way of being inclusive of some of the really stellar specialized programs we have at the end in high schools, but that absolutely are beginning to excite students in the elementary schools as well.
Well, let's keep finishing that and not make it a draft anymore. I think that's really really neat. And there was one other thing that I was going to say. I presume that we'll come back in a year and kind of see, what our growth has looked like. And I appreciate kind of acknowledging the gaps, and would love maybe some more specifics on, in a year's time. You mentioned at different sites, there's different access and different leadership and different professional abilities there. And it would be interesting to see in a year's time kind of what we're seeing at different sites right now versus what we're seeing in a year, just so that we can see those specifics, so that we can see the changes that are happening. It's rare in education that we have a vision and then there's money to do the things. At the same time. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. Thank you.
Trustee Butler?
Curious I'm assuming you're going to carry the torch forward. You're going to continue. I mean, we approved an arts integration teacher job description. So maybe explain how that's going to working with you, and
that job description is something that our district steering committee came up with, and we found different models from different school districts and made it all ours. I think next year will be a kind of another learning year. I call it. This year was year 1, and next year will be year 1.5 because we started this work in February, really having a shared understanding of the parameters of Proposition 28. Many of the hiring timelines and the things that we were able to do for next year really require something like an arts integration TOSA, where someone is helping build the capacity of existing teachers. I don't know if that will be our strategy more long-term all across the district, because I do think that sharing art teachers across multiple sites will be something that more people will be interested in, and will have more time to develop the systems where that is possible. Sharing teachers across sites is logistically quite complex. And so starting that conversation in April, you had all the elementary school teachers or principals, and they were so committed and dedicated to thinking through how they could share staff, visual arts teachers across sites. And then they were like, wait, there's so many people who are going to need to kind of be a part of this conversation. And so that arts integration TOSA is one strategy, because you take a teacher and you have them build the capacity of your multiple subject teachers. But again, I'm not sure if that is the long range plan. I think people are going to need to come back and say, why don't we just hire an art teacher to do this instead of trying to train the third grade teacher to do it all? Yeah. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have one request. Will you please give us art for this wall, please?
That's one of the first things I want to do. We are getting an overwhelming number of requests around the county for art. We really are. And it's hard to keep track of them. So one of the first things I want to do this summer is make it really easy, like a timeline of what we have coming up. And I'd like to match them to many of the cultural awareness months, so that, yes, you will have gallery exhibits here. And again, I just think it takes someone to think about making a timeline for folks, because kids love their artwork here. Teachers love to participate, but it can be overwhelming with all the asks when they're separate and not kind of aligned.
As with all things, you're thinking it through in such a mindful way. Thank you. Okay, anything else? Yeah. Great. Okay, this was a staff report, so thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best thing to talk about.
Yeah, well, we
Okay.
can talk about budget and
No.
fees, and I'd rather talk about kids and education.
Sorry to put a wrench in your night, but we're now going to talk about developer fee rates.
Speaking of which,
We're back onto the discussion action timeline continuum here with item B, which is the approval of developer fee justification study, proposal to increase developer fee rates, and resolution number 32, 2023-2024, increasing school facility fees.
yes, this presentation will not be given by me tonight. It's going to be given by Ms. April Thompson here from King Consulting, who created the developer fee study. At the end of this, we will be asking for an approval of a resolution for us to increase our developer fees based on what was found in the study. But I'm going to have April speak to what is actually in the study.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me here. Hi. I had the pleasure of working with Dr. Sinyard in my past school district in Martinez. So very nice to see you. And yes, I love coming and presenting at board. So thank you so much for having me. And I love seeing the incredible work that your staff is doing. And now we get to talk about the exciting world of developer fees. Quick history. I won't go too far into it. I'm sure you're all aware. Back in 1986, school districts were given the authority to impose developer fee or developer mitigation fees. And then in 1998, there was a cap put on it by the state. So it used to be that school district would, mitigate those fees with developers individually, and then the state decided to standardize those fees in 1998. And research demonstrates, and you'll hear me be a broken record tonight, research demonstrates that the true impact of new development so much higher than what you will actually collect in developer fees. That's why it's imperative that you collect the maximum amount that you can in developer fees every 2 years. The developer fees are charged per square foot for residential and commercial and industrial construction for projects that are constructed within your school district's boundaries. Level 1 fees, they're capped at the beginning of every even numbered year. So in 2024, the State Allocation Board increased the maximum amount of level 1 developer fees, and that's what we're presenting here tonight. The maximum amount currently is $5.17 for residential development and 84 cents per square foot for commercial industrial development. The Novato Unified School District, we've calculated that you are justified at collecting the maximum current level of developer fees at $5.17 per square foot and 84 cents for commercial industrial. We also do a separate calculation for the square footage generated by mini storage facilities as well as agriculture. So those are collected at a different rate. Just a quick talk about the funding opportunities for school facilities. I'm sure you're all aware it's really what's called the three-legged stool in our state for facilities funding for schools. Your developer fees are the one leg of that stool. Your local funding, which would be your general obligation bonds, your parcel taxes, LCFF, it's that second leg of the stool. And then the third leg of the stool that keeps everything that supports everything is that state school facility program or federal grants. Without those three legs, there's really not there's really not an adequate way to address the needs of your school facilities, modernization as well as new construction. And as we know, even with those three things, it's never quite enough. You are allowed to use your developer fees in the purpose in which they have been collected, so in the way that they've been justified in your study. So they can be collected and used toward the construction of new facilities to accommodate students that were generated by new development. They can also be used to refurbish or modernize your existing facilities so that you can maintain your existing level of service to new students that may be generated by development as well. Understanding the true cost to house, this is what I kind of touched on at the beginning. Looking at these developer fees at $5.17 per square foot and 84 cents per square foot, it really doesn't address all of the needs that are generated from new development in your area. It really doesn't address the impact to your ancillary facilities. If you have additional students that are generated by development, you may need to have additional toilet facilities, expanded gymnasiums, libraries, those things. You also may have an additional impact on your parking facilities, your drop off and pick up. If it comes time where you have a huge increase in student enrollment, you might need to acquire additional properties to accommodate those students, and so on. That's listed on this slide. That maximum developer fee is the most that you can collect, and even with that, it still doesn't address all of these additional needs that are generated due to development. So that is why we encourage you to adopt the highest level of developer fees that you can for this year.
Questions, comments, Trustee Gaston first, and then Trustee Millerick.
I have a fundamental question which I have not been able to figure out. What is, I saw the slide, you referenced level 1.
Yes.
So I see that there's level 1, level 2, but what is the difference? Like, what is level 1?
The majority of school districts are eligible to collect level 1 developer fees. That's the statutory level fees. That's that state
like
maximum that's set. That's the base amount. The level 2 and level 3s are really specific to your district. There are specific criteria that need to be met for level 2. It has to do with your facilities, the amount of the percentage of your debt that you have against your bonding capacity that you currently hold. It also looks at how many students you have on a multi-track year-round schedule. Potentially, I think you have to have over 30%. There are specific qualifiers for your district for level 2 fees that need to be met. It's pretty rare. Level fee only comes into play when there is no money at the state to fund new construction projects. So if you already qualify for level 2 and you meet the 3 or 4 criteria that you need to meet to collect level 2, and then there's no money at the state to fund new construction projects, then level 3 kicks in.
Okay. So, because when I see levels, I'm thinking, okay, well, what's the next? But we're never here. It's just level 1. It's just like basic developer fee funding that we're allowed. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really interested in your discussion about the three-legged stool, and that basically what I heard you say is state funding for schools basically covers operational costs for teachers and buses and day-to-day operation. Maybe Josh can speak to that more clearly, but that capital construction costs come from some different place. And you identified 3 sources: developer fees, we're talking about tonight, local bond measures, which this district has issued local bonds and we're using. We're in the middle of upgrading our schools for that. And then state bond construction, which I believe we will apply for reimbursement under the state bond program. So we're touching those 3.
Yes.
There's a fourth one that I wonder about. When the San Marin neighborhood was built out, and I think, and even the Novato High neighborhood, property was set aside in the master plan for a school site. And that was, I believe, given to the school at that time. So in the part of the zoning process, is there in fact chunks of property or money that comes to school districts? So in Novato's case, make it current, in Novato's case, the Fireman's Fund site is gonna have 1,500 new residences or so, something in that neighborhood, between 1,000 and 2,000, plus going up Redwood Boulevard, there's 5 or 6 other developments going up that same road. The development in Novato is going to occur in one particular area that would be served by Olive School and San Ramon School. Maybe we need another school site. I don't know, I haven't talked to anybody about that, but are we able to, is there another source of funds that we didn't talk about?
That wouldn't necessarily be an additional source of funds. The
property
three,
or-
yeah, I mean, of course, the district is always, you know, able to look and see if you want to acquire additional properties. That's the prerogative of the district and of the board. As far as new developments coming in, if it is possible to go into developer mitigation and negotiate for a piece of property that's within an incoming development. It's kind of a longer process. It's not necessarily an additional source of funds, but you would, you know, really need to look at your enrollment projections and see if there is a need for an additional school site. There would be a lot that would go into that.
Yeah, no, this is a pretty open-ended question. You came here to talk about one of these sources, and I sort of want to open the can and talk about them all. I appreciate that. So, well, thank you for your information on putting that in context. So I fully support the, like you said, this is never enough money to actually offset the impact of the district, so would vote in favor of going to the full limits that the law allows.
Okay,
Thank you.
Trustee Pickus and then Gasson.
Just a couple kind of big picture questions. So in the funding source and cost, Josh, it says the funds for developer fees are housed exclusively in Fund 25 and are not available for normal operations. Can you talk about the parameters of how we can use these funds?
Yeah, so Fund 25 is that's your developer fee funds. That's where all of your developer fees that you collect, that's where they're held. And they can only be spent on the expenditures, where are we? That we identified. So you can use them towards your facilities, not necessarily operational costs, not programmatic. It can only be used on facilities as I said, either construct new facilities or to refurbish or modernize your existing facilities to maintain that existing level of service.
Okay. I should have just directed that question to you. My apologies.
Oh, sorry.
Well, let me add one more thing too. In December, we have to bring a yearly report that also is a 5-year rolling report that tells basically the developers, the people who have paid these fees, how we're utilizing those funds.
Good.
And so it doesn't get all nitty gritty, but it is specific. So it can't be for staff salaries of teachers or administrators, things like that. It needs to be basically facilities focused.
But these are funds that we currently have Fund 25, and these are funds that we are actively using when we have needs come up with our facilities?
When we have expansion needs that come up for our facilities. Okay. Yeah, so like our TK build out, right now we're also looking at San Marin needs more parking spots for the students. They have more students than they've had in the last couple of years. So, there's needs like that are expanding students, expanding student needs. Fund 25 is there.
Great. And then just a second question. So this money, it goes to the district, not the site specific, correct? So if there is, the Fireman's Fund is in the Olive area, that money is not for Olive specifically, it goes to the district, correct?
It's just when it's within district boundaries,
okay.
The district can collect on it, because pretty much every school district, this is the one tax that we're allowed to collect, and the city, county can't tell us no. It's ours. So we collect that tax, and they actually administrate it for us through the permit process.
Thank you so much.
So just to be clear, after we pass this, it says that it goes effective July 22nd. So is that as soon as anybody puts in, a proposal to build something or develop something, it's from that date forward that we collect the additional fees. And is that run through the city or through the?
It's both. So the unincorporated properties will go through the county.
Okay.
And then the incorporated properties go through the city.
Right. Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you.
When building permits are issued, right? That's when it's collected? When building permits are issued.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, so I'm asking for a motion to approve the recommendation of the superintendent and staff recommended approval of the completed developer fee justification study created and presented by King Consulting, the proposal to increase developer fee rates, and resolution 32, 2023-2024, increasing school facility fees. First by trustee Millerick, thank you. Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's a resolution, yeah.
How did I not write that down? Okay. Thank you. Oh, because I looked at the last page, not the second to last page. Apologies. Okay, we have I think we still need a first and a second. So we have trustee Millerick and seconded by trustee Pickus. Thank you. Trustee Butler.
Aye.
Trustee Gasson. Trustee Jacobson, aye. Trustee Lametta.
Aye.
Trustee Mack is absent. Trustee Millerick.
Aye.
Trustee Pickus. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your ride back to Sacramento.
Oh, good. Okay.
Thank you again.
Okay, we now are on item 14C, the review and approval of administrative regulations and exhibit update of the 700 Facilities Series 2.
Yeah, so we're presenting tonight, and I'd like to call a co-presenter up here, Mr. Mike Jolly. This is the administrative regulation 7325.4. That is the. Oh, I thought I had the name, the professional. Oh, there it is. San Marin High School Lights and Public Address System. We work together with the Coalition to Save San Marin. Mike was there in all the meetings, and the we is Dr. Smith and I started actually before I started working for the district. As soon as I was hired, this was the first meeting that I took was with Mike. So that he was a great introduction to the community. Because I mean, I think it's probably been said 1,000 times before, but his last name is absolutely true, right? It's always, Mike is always great to be around. And we came together, there was a list of some concerns. We started with that list of concerns. We started addressing those concerns right away. And throughout this whole year, it's just been incredibly collaborative. So we've worked together and to the point of asking Mike to come to present with us tonight. And Mike's going to have some words about how the process went this year.
Go ahead. Thank you, Josh. It's an honor to address the board in this AR 7325 mandated presentation in the incredible company of Superintendent Tracy Smith and CFO Josh Braff, two proven community leaders, in this man's opinion, and obviously in the board's. In April of 2023, CSSM and NUSD began a consultation to review and update our agreements with AR 7325, which have worked so well these past 3 years. Working with Tracy and Josh it's been a wonderful experience. As is working the last 2 years with Principal Jennifer Larson and her amazing team at San Marin High School. We'll be really sorry to see Jennifer leave. She's been an amazing partner, and we wish her the best in whatever she does. And her team, Athletic Director Tyler Peterson, as well as San Marin football coach Dom DeMar, and winning baseball coach Jamie Vittoni, who won tonight in the semifinals against Encinal, and moves on to the finals of the NCS, which is thrilling for the community. We changed and improved the format of the board's AR 7325 with your permission, obviously tonight, as NUSD wanted. Tracy and Josh asked for that, and we were happy to accord that. We also were asked by Jennifer and her team at San Marin High School, Coach DeMar especially, to expand practice, lighted practice to 8 o'clock by half an hour, and CSSM was delighted to accord that request because it's great for the kids. Like Coach DeMar said, it gives them the ability to actually have 2 practices from 4 to 6 and 6 to 8. And he's got a big team out this year at the various levels. So that was good. Also, Tracy and Josh wisely wanted to expand the original small box into a fully one-page descriptive SMHS fields usage chart, easy to understand at a simple glance. So this reformatted and expanded AR 7325 and box are in your packages tonight, and we hope you'll approve them. Finally, I'd like to just mention, I actually went to Athletic Director Tyler Peterson's office recently, who's a partner, to solicit and incorporate his views and hopefully his buy-in on the new 7325 and box. And he was generous enough to give us what he thought was necessary, and we were delighted to work to incorporate it into the presentation for you tonight. And I'd like to finish that CSSM appreciates our partnership with this incredible board and with NUSD these last 3 years, as we moved from difference to working partnership in a proven mutual benefit of school and community, for which I thank the board.
I'd just like to highlight some of the key changes in the AR, which was very difficult to read in its first iteration. I probably read it at least a dozen times. And I sat down with Jen Larson, we looked at it and we said, how could we rework this so that we could make it more readable? And then of course, the table, putting it all together has been kind of the magical part for like that one look and saying, okay, this is what we're doing. This is what we're agreeing to. This is what we can use when we have a disagreement or we need to solve something. And then additionally, were you going to talk about the sound system?
Oh, I mean, that's not really in the AR, but I guess it's a practice of the AR. It's us using the AR for something that's coming forward, which we'll be bringing the proposal to you, which is the sound system for the baseball field. And we did a sound study, it was about a feasibility study and then a sound study after that. And we worked with CSSM and got their buy-in and that the sound study was not only done well, but that it should not be becoming a nuisance for the residents surrounding that area. So we now know that by next year we will have a sound system for our baseball field at San Marin.
And then I think those were most of the changes besides agreeing to move the practice to 8 o'clock and to add girls flag football.
Trustee Gasson with a question or comment?
Sort of both. First, thank you, Mr. Jolly, for being here and presenting. I really appreciate that you came to the meeting and gave us the highlights on everything and working with us. I think my primary question is just what is different in the blue copy versus the one that we received in our...
Oh, there were, so in the where it lists playoffs, in the schedule, which is the box that we're talking about, that sort of is your cheat sheet, changed to NCS playoffs, not just any random playoffs. And there were a couple times that just didn't match between the box and the AR that we had. Really, it was Mike caught in the last moment, and we made sure to change it. So it was very minor changes, but there were things that we had already agreed on to, but the two docs didn't match 100%.
That was funny because I actually thought about going and just check. I'm like, no, I'm not going to look. So thank you for catching, and thanks for. I'm actually really pleased that there's that chart. So I think that's the best piece of all of it. That it's just easier to have like a one thing to look at, and then you can follow up with the rest of it, but I appreciate all the work that went into it.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, can we get a motion to approve? Oh, everyone was jumping at that. Okay, I saw Trustee Butler and Trustee Gasson's hands, so we're going to say Gasson as a first and Butler as a second. Any other comments, questions? Okay, all in favor? 6. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Jelly, for being here tonight. All right, we are on to item 14D. It's discussion action approval of reciprocal agreement and joint use agreement with the City of Novato.
Yes, and this continues in the same track of working with community partners, this time with the city. We've had a reciprocal use agreement, which is basically I can use your stuff and you can use mine. We've had that for a very long time, all the way back to 1995. And then in 2010, we expanded that with the city in doing a joint building of the Hamilton Gym. So there's joint ownership there, which is the second part, whereas the joint use agreement that you see in there. So you see that it's the reciprocal agreement and joint use agreement. The joint use agreement is specific to Hamilton Gym. Not much changed in this. It was a lot of wording clarifications, but really the point was build relationships with the city that we're in, the community that we're in, and make sure that we have the same shared understanding of what this is supposed to mean. We did change some things about the hours of use to certain days of use, especially around the summertime, which is when it gets really confusing, and the fact that we have ELOP that extends our days, and we're now having class at the TK through 6th grade level for 9 hours a day. Well, that changes some of the joint use portion of Hamilton. But on the reciprocal use side, for the most part, the city and the district has not really taken advantage of it in the last couple of years, it sounds like, to actually even use each other's facilities. But we wanted to make sure that we had that shared understanding of when we do need to do that, what does it look like? So tonight we're asking for approval of the updated agreement for both with your approval. And of course, we'll take any questions.
Any questions or comments, Trustee Millerick?
I would move approval. If I don't hear any other comments. I'll wait if somebody else wants to have a conversation.
Trustee Butler with a question or comment?
Yeah, just to mention the quarterly meetings and how important that will be. I can't stress it enough that if we don't make those happen, this will fall off the rails, and we won't be following the agreements correctly. So I just, for staff to really make sure we get those scheduled out and they're on the calendar and not let that go. So. Absolutely. Appreciate all the work, because this started a year ago, I know, with the reciprocal use. So I'm glad we're here. It was super old and it needed to be updated, and it's great. And then with the Hamilton Gym agreement as well, just cleaning it up and making sure just reads a little bit better. I mean, I was great with all the changes. I can't ask for more. So thank you very much for doing that. Yep, I'm good to go.
Great. Okay, I heard a first from Trustee Millerick.
Yes.
Do we have a second? Trustee Pickus, great. And all in favor? 6 in favor, thank you. All right. Continue with Mr. Braff. We have item 14E, discussion action approval of resolution number 27, 2023-2024, authorization of the authorizing the insurance and slate of NUSD 2024 general obligation refunding bonds.
Absolutely. So last meeting we had a very quick and thorough presentation from GFS JPA about bond refinancing. He was able to boil down a life's worth of work into a 10-minute presentation. And tonight we're actually asking for approval to allow GFS JPA to do that work, to take the bonds from Measure A that are available for reissuance, in other words, a refinancing, and go and do that in June. If approved tonight, they have their checks and balances, but we will be reporting back. I think it'll be at the August meeting was when we would be able to come back and then say the results, considering we don't have a July meeting.
Trustee Miller?
I was unable to attend the last meeting because of a personal conflict. What is the expected savings for taxpayers in this move?
So we have a minimum threshold of $685,000, but we're expecting closer to $1 million.
A benefit to taxpayers?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yes.
Other questions or comments? This is all.
Yeah, so
yes.
the only, in cases before where we move to save some money like this, where it's $1 million, or there's, which I would say is a small number, although it's hard to imagine me going to the grocery store and spending $1 million. But the problem, if in fact we wait another 2 years and look for a better deal 2 years, and we can save more, but we spent the money here in the refinancing costs. So the recommendation, which I wasn't here, and I'll take your representation, that the staff's recommending we go now, the savings are significant and there's not likely to be more savings in the very near future.
Yeah, this is also the ending of the Measure A bonds.
Okay.
Right, so these are the 2001, I believe, bonds, and this is the very end of them, and their call date is 2024. So this is their opportunity. Beginning next year, we start getting into the first available refinancing of the Measure G bonds, but they were also sold at a much lower rate.
Yeah, really good rate at the time, yeah.
Yeah, and while the bond rates are not skyrocketing the same way that mortgage rates are, they're still like very kind of flat. Right now it's not showing a savings, but we're also, that's a year away from now, right? So in the case of this one, it was sold at about a 5%.
Okay.
And we're seeing about 3.5 or so. So there is an opportunity here, and probably not going to be a better opportunity in the future.
Okay. Thank you for talking me through that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Other questions or comments? Okay, do we have someone who'd like to approve this? Okay, Trustee Gasson, and seconded by Trustee Lametta. This is a roll call vote. Trustee Butler?
Aye.
Trustee Gasson?
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson, aye. Trustee Lametta?
Aye.
Trustee Mack is absent. Trustee Millerick?
Aye.
Trustee Pickus?
Aye.
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Thank you very much. Of course.
Next up, we have Dr. Julie Sinyard with the approval of the 2024-2025 Novato High and San Marin High bell schedules.
Good evening. Thank you for having me this evening. Tonight, I am bringing forth the Novato High School and the San Marin High School bell schedules for approval, as well as the all levels bell schedule. And these schedules are the same as the previous school year and exceed the minimum minutes required at the high school level. And the all levels bell schedule remains unchanged as well. So we are asking for approval this evening.
So we're uniform across the two campuses?
Correct. Yep. Year two. It's wonderful.
Just a quick question, because I know that we approved the middle and elementary minutes earlier, or bell schedules earlier. Was there a reason that these two are coming separately?
Yes, there was a separate MOU with NFT regarding approval of the schedules, and so we were waiting for an additional vote and took care of that.
Trustee Gasson?
I'm going to do a Trustee Butler thing. So I didn't see, you mentioned the all school levels bell schedules. I had just read that it was the high school bell schedules.
May I please make an amendment then to have the all level schedule approved as well?
Okay, and because I didn't even realize there was an all, what's it called? All schools levels bell schedule. So that's just for.
It's just a one sheet document showing that everybody's schedule on the same page.
Oh, okay. Oh, so that's, okay. Oh, that makes sense. I thought it was not. I thought it was like certain kids get out at certain time. Never mind. All right, thank you. I think I'm tired. I've had such bad allergies. I'm sitting here, can barely see. I'm congested. I took all this cold medicine and stuff. So anyway, I'll make a motion if nobody else did. So
Okay, the recommendation is to approve the 2024-2025 bell schedules at Novato High, San Marin High, and the all levels schedule.
Correct.
We have a first by trustee Gasson. Second, trustee Pickus, thank you. All in favor? 6, thank you. Thank you. Well, thank yous. Okay. Item 14G. Dr. Smith, please tell us.
So every year, this is a piece of official business. It's granting myself, Dr. Julie Sinyard, Joshua Braff, and Francesca Whitcomb to sign on your behalf. So we sign documents, and so this you are giving us authority to do so, and each of these is a separate resolution.
We're going to do a roll call vote on each. Ellen, do we need a first and a second for each as well? Okay, great. Do we need a first and a second for the general item? Okay, thank you. So, questions first? Comments? Great. Okay, who would like to move to approve this set of roll call votes? Trustee Millerick, thank you. Who would like to second? Trustee Pickus, thank you. Okay, so the first item, which is for Dr. Tracy Smith. Trustee Butler.
Aye.
Trustee Gasson.
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson, aye. Trustee Lametta.
Aye.
Trustee Mack is absent. Trustee Millerick.
Aye.
Trustee Pickus.
Aye.
Great. The next item is for Dr. Julie Sinyard. Trustee Butler.
Aye.
Trustee Gasson.
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson is aye. Trustee Lametta.
Aye.
Trustee Mack is absent. Trustee Millerick.
Aye.
Trustee Pickus.
Aye.
The third of 4 is for Joshua Braff. Trustee Butler.
Aye.
Trustee Gasson.
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson, aye. Trustee Lametta.
Aye.
Trustee Mack, absent. Trustee Millerick.
Aye.
Trustee Pickus.
Aye.
And the fourth of 4 is for Francesca Whitcomb. Trustee Butler.
Aye.
Trustee Gasson.
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson, aye. Trustee Lametta.
Aye.
Trustee Mack is absent. Trustee Millerick.
Aye.
Trustee Pickus.
Aye.
Okay.
You need signatures, right?
Yes,
Stay.
we do need everyone's signature after the meeting, please. We have one item from consent that was pulled. That's number 15N.
Thank you, Josh. I just have a couple of questions, and one is, well, first of all,
Can we introduce the item first? Would you want to say what it is? Or
Oh,
shall
sure.
I?
So this is actually a fun, unique item, right? Because normally I'm bringing this from the bond office or from M&O, but I'm bringing this from fans. And we are in a lucky place where our fans department has run efficiently and has a surplus of funds. And one of the things that we desperately need is upgrades in our kitchens. So Cody, our director of fans, did his part, did his due diligence here, and made a wish list. We gave that off to John Delana, who identified HYA as the architects to do the work to find out how much this whole entire thing is going to cost, but we have to pay them to do that work. With that list, we will then make our basic, the mixture of the priority list and the amount of money we have list, merge those two things together, and then we can identify a project schedule that, of course, would then come back to the board.
Thank you.
So tonight, we're just approving the work with HYA to then find out the cost and planning for these items.
Right. Thank you. I'm actually excited about this, and the only reason I pulled it was I had a couple of questions or considerations as we go through this process. The first is related to the E2 committee. I know that we've had conversation at different levels within other Marin schools and the need to provide universal lunch and the opportunity that the district might be able to help support those school sites. I don't know how far that conversation has gone, but I thought if there is a conversation going on how we can do that, that maybe, that could be incorporated into this if we need additional equipment or items to help facilitate that. The other element was the resolution that we had passed related to trying to shift things to electric. And I would like to make sure that whatever we come up with, that there's consideration as much as possible for that element too, since that was what the district kind of was geared toward. I saw a couple mentions of gas. I know there's instances where we can't maybe change that, but just making sure that when we go out, that there's that opportunity to have that kind of as a thought in the process of getting quotes and stuff. And then you sort of, I understand this is the first step, but are we talking like next year maybe? Or no, well, next year is like coming around, but like next calendar year maybe of having some of these things done, or?
Yeah, it'll really do. Well, I'll answer all three of those actually. Let's start back for the first one. We've talked to some of our, other districts in the county that have reached out because they basically pay for their food services. They don't have their own kitchens or anything, and what we would have to charge is not really comparable. So at this moment right now, that wouldn't work. That doesn't mean that it can't in the future or things can't change, but we would have to kind of change some of our our mentalities and operations to align more with that, to be set up as a what they call a disbursement kitchen, so that we produce and send to them. That not something that we can't do in the future, but might be a little different than running it out of one of our school kitchens, and might be something that we could do at warehouse in the future. The second one was, oh, sorry. What was the second one again?
Gas, electric.
Yeah. Oh, so that is now as approved by the resolution, is going into the conversation every time going forward. Most of the time when you meet cooks, they're going to tell you that don't put an electric in front of me. I want gas only, right? So there is a little bit of like, okay, well then, how about we find the electric that doesn't make you feel that way? Why don't we find the electric that does meet the needs of the district and doesn't, cause you to cook an extra 20 minutes per item because it didn't heat up, et cetera, whatever excuse there is. So that is a conversation, but I think there's also a little bit of training that goes into it. Then there also is the question of electrical load at each site. We do have some older sites, so we'll take that all into account, but we are starting from that place. Is okay, how do we get electric? And then there needs to be good reasons for us to move back down to gas. And then the final one is that it depends on who the construction / the scope, the scale of each individual site's project. So number one, we don't want to have any kitchens go out of order. We know what happened with that one. It was a huge celebration just to get a certain one finished. We did. Let's not repeat that, right? So the scope and scale is part one, working with the county health office to find out exactly how to do things in the order that makes sense for them to give us the quickest through line. That's important there. And then what company / contractor are we working with to actually do the work? They're not the same people as the HVAC guys. So we're doing a bunch of HVAC and roofing. These are different people. So they might have availability and tons of availability right now. I don't know. So we might be able to actually fit them in when we're doing other projects, or do it during Christmas break or winter break, whatever it might be, right? Our plan is to move fast. We've done the slow part, which was to collect all the information of the needs. Now we're giving it to the people who get paid to do it fast.
Thank you. I am happy to move to approve the contract with Hibsner Yamachi Architects for food and nutritional services kitchen improvements.
Trustee Miller?
I'll make a second.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment as well.
Now that we have a second, please do.
Okay. I want to make sure that we pay attention to the needs of the chefs who are actually working in these kitchens. And while I think electric's an interesting area, natural gas is, their preferences have to be weighed as well. And if that's their preference, we need to make sure we're not giving them an unworkable solution because somebody from downtown decided that was the right answer. But sometimes electric's a better solution, sometimes gas is a better solution. So just pay attention to the needs of the facility. So that's my comment.
Thank you. All in favor? 6. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
There will be a special meeting on June 1st, and our next regular board meeting is on June 4th, beginning at 5 o'clock. Adjourned.